Good morning. This is Friday, March 6, 2026. I just be listening at news, listen to people lie, and then I sit back and I see, and I see is Christian folks gonna stand up to evil? I I sit back and I see and I listen and I look at the news and and I'm waiting to see the church rise up, right? They can rise up and put "In God We Trust" on the money. They can rise up and worship Trump as the second coming of Christ. They can rise up and worship Trump. They can rise up and fill stadium to football games and basketball games, arenas. But the church is almost empty, especially black churches. They're almost empty. Where are the black men in the church that's supposed to be leading the church? Where are they? 70% or 75% of every black church I go to is mostly women. Now, if 75% of most of the black churches you go to is mostly women, and God gave man dominion, and God gave man the dominion over the birds of the air and the fish of the sea and the creeping crawling things, but the 75% of the black churches are women. But guess what? You don't see the church trying to change, do you? You don't see the church trying to correct the mistakes that's being made, right? You don't see that, right? The Bible clearly tells you that the pecking order that God has in his church and his religious realm. I believe in what it says in the Bible. I believe in the pecking order that God put forth in the Bible. And I am a representative of Christ, and I have no choice. I have no choice in the matter but to obey and keep the pecking order in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. I don't know about you, but like Joshua said, as far as me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. That means that we're going to go by God's rules. Paul is my apostle to the Gentile. I believe that. I believe that Paul is my apostle. I don't have to guess it. I don't need nobody to try to teach it to me. I believe in my heart and my soul that Jesus spoke to Paul. And that Jesus allowed Paul to write the majority of the New Testament. I believe that. Heart, mind, and soul. Paul tells me in 1 Corinthians that I need to imitate him the same way that he imitated Christ. I believe that Paul, he imitated Christ. And Paul, he writes the pecking order of the church. God, number one, God is a head of Christ. That's what I believe. Christ is the head of the church. That's who I answer to. I answer to the head of the church and the head of my church, or my concept of church. The head of my church is Christ. The pastors are under shepherds. Christ is the head of the church. And man is a head of the woman. He ain't better than the woman. He don't know more than the woman. God made Adam before he made Eve. Eve was still in Adam's loin when God gave him dominion over the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, or the creeper crawler thing and the cattle. He had never formed Eve yet. God gave Adam commandments that he can eat of every tree of the garden except the tree of knowledge and good and evil. God gave Adam everything, but asked him not to do one thing. But God gave him freedom. God gave him a choice. It was up to Adam to obey or disobey. But Adam listened to his wife, and he ate of that fruit. So once again, this is what I believe, and I want to stand on it forever. God is the head of everything. Christ is the head of the church. And man is a head of the woman, just like Christ is the head of the church. She ain't no less. She ain't no weaker. She ain't no dumber. It's just that God gave the dominion to Adam when Eve wasn't there. She was still in his loins. It's just like you can go to a job and fill out an application and send a resume. That could be 2,000 jobs, but that could be 10,000 resumes. But you can only hire 10 people, 2,000 people. That don't mean you hate those people. That don't mean that you dislike those people. It just ain't but 2,000 jobs, and you got 10,000 resumes. See, that's the way life is. It ain't female this and female, because the Bible also tells us that now in the last days, Galatians, after Christ came and died for everybody, he said that there's no more male and female in God's eyes. There's no more marriage and being given in marriage in God's eyes in the kingdom. There's no more circumcision and uncircumcision. There's no more bond or free in God's eyes. When Jesus died, we was all adopted into Abraham's seed. That means that the Gentiles and the Jews, there ain't no difference between a Gentile and a Jew. There ain't no difference between circumcision and uncircumcision. There's no difference between male and female. We are all children of the Most High God. But there's a pecking order in the law and in the rules and in the regulations that God is a head of Christ. So Christ can never be above God in my eye, even though they're the Trinity, even though they go everywhere together, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, but they don't operate at the same time. God is always numero uno to me. That means number one. Number one is God. When it comes to the church and the church rules and the church instruction and the church way of operation, I don't go to God for that. I go to Christ for that because God have appointed Christ, the head of the church. That's what I believe. And Christ rule and Christ's rules and regulation supersedes any other rule. I don't have to go to God because God have appointed Christ to be a head of the church. It's just like on your job. Say that you work for Mercedes-Benz and you say you on line 4. And then on line 4, they got a group leader. And then they got a shift manager. And then they got team leaders in between. Now, I could have a team leader in my station that tell me what to do and how to do my job and when to do my job. But if my group leader comes down, say my team leader told me to do something, okay? And 10 minutes later, my group leader, which runs my whole line number 4, the group leader come down that run the whole line, but my team leader told me to do this. But my group leader comes down 30 minutes later, and my group leader tell me to do that. I already know that my group leader is higher than my team leader. So even though my team leader told me to do that, when my group leader come and tell me something, it's going to supersede what my team leader told me to do. So my group leader tell me to go over there, I'm going to quit what my team leader told me to do, and I'm going to go do what my group leader told me to do. Because when my group leader tell me to do it, he supersedes what my team leader told me. So when God appointed Christ to be the head of the church, I don't have to go to God no more. I need to listen to Christ and do what Christ tell me to do and what Christ asked me to do. And then the next level is that Christ chose Paul. He was Saul then. When Christ chose Paul to be the apostle to the Gentiles. See, I got to stay within the order that Christ and God set up. So now, I don't have to go to God no more because, and I don't have to go to Christ no more. I have to listen and obey Paul. That's the pecking order. God is the head of Christ, and Christ is the head of the church. And Christ appointed an apostle to the Gentiles, Paul. So now Paul tells me in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, this is what Paul asked me to do now. I don't have to go to Christ now. I don't have to go to God now because God appointed Christ and Christ appointed Paul. So whatever Paul tell me to do, I'm not going to go running to Christ complaining on Paul. If Paul tell me, because I have already accepted him as Jesus' apostle, as Jesus' authority, that Paul is going to speak for Jesus to me. So now when Paul comes to me, whatever I'm doing, whatever project I'm doing, or whatever project I'm involved in, if Paul, my apostle, come up to me and tell me to stop doing this and go do that. I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to go do that. I ain't going to go run into Christ. I ain't going to go run into God because I know God and Christ gave Paul the authority. That's what respect is. That's what integrity is. That's what rule and regulation is. Is that if you believe that Paul is your apostle, you supposed to do what Paul said. If things go south, you're not guilty. Paul will be the one guilty. You go to Paul, and if Paul needs to go to Christ, he will. But that's between Paul and Christ. I'm not going to question what Christ told Paul because I already accepted Paul as my apostle. I believe that Jesus called him. If Paul asked me to do something, I'm going to do it. Once you know the pecking order, you can't be blocked. And you can't be stopped. No preacher, no deacon, no mother or mother boards or deacon board can call me a liar. What I'm saying, it cannot be overruled. It's final. Paul is an apostle of Jesus Christ. That means that Paul was called. That means that Paul was taught. And Paul was given the authority by Jesus Christ himself. I'm not going, you do it every day. When you go to the store, you listen to different people. Now, if the manager of Mercedes-Benz came and told me to do something, and the CEO of Mercedes-Benz came to me 30 minutes later, because I understand pecking order, I understand rules and regulations. If the manager of the night shift had told me something, and 30 minutes later, the CEO came to me and told me, Ronnie, I want you to stop doing that. And I want you to go over there and do that. Because I know the pecking order and I know the CEO words overrule the shift manager. So I don't care what the shift manager told me or what the shift manager asked me to do. When that CEO asked me to stop doing this and go do that, I'm going to stop doing what the shift manager told me, and I'm going to go and do what the CEO told me. Because I understand the pecking order. Because if I get in trouble for leaving the job, if the shift manager come over there and try to fire me, I'm going to tell the shift manager the CEO told me to stop what I'm doing and go do that. It's over right there. Because the shift manager know that the CEO authority exceed his or hers. And that's why all the Christian folks is failing. That's why the evil people is running wild, because nobody wants to obey God. Nobody want to obey God's rules and regulation. It's in the Bible if you're reading it. If you don't know, you ain't reading the Bible. You ain't trying to read Jesus' rule. You ain't trying to read Jesus' regulations. You just a wolf that's walking around in sheep clothing. What did you come to do? You come to steal, you come to kill, and you come to destroy. But Jesus come with life and liberty and justice for all. That's the difference. God is sick of all this lying in his name. God is sick of all this pretending in his name. God is sick of it wolves lying and taking advantage of the sheep. God's sick of it. He been sick of it. He done gave you years and centuries to repent. But you would not. You taught your kid, your grandkid, and your great-grandkids to try to take advantage of people, to lie, to backstab. Those days are over. Those days are over. It's time for truth now. These are the last days. It's time for truth now. It's time for love now. It's time for building up instead of tearing down. It's time to strengthen instead of weaken. It's time to help build bridges instead of try to tear them down. It's time to be support for the doctor in the sick room and the bridge over troubled water and a way out of no way. It's time to support the weak. Build up what's torn down. Strengthen what is weak. Our brothers and sisters behind jailhouses, we need to pray for them. But we need to do more than pray. We need to love them. Despite of what they done. How many times I done said I fell short? How many times I done told you how many mistakes I made? But Jesus was still right there. Even when I was yet in my sin, Jesus was still standing there with his hand stretched out still. My brothers and sisters, it's time for us to put our trust in the Lord. It's time for us to go by God's rules and God's regulations. And we need to let Jesus lead us and guide us in the way that he would have us to go. Submit yourself unto the Lord and let him direct your path. Not a president that have no conscience. Not a president that have no respect for the Constitution. That have no respect for law. That have no respect for his wife. That teach his kids how to do evil. Just because someone is not the same color skin. Just because somebody ain't rich. It's kind of sad when somebody that you pay $400,000 a year, he lives in the White House. He fly around on Air Force One. He ride in a car that costs millions of dollars. He can't be shot. It's bulletproof, bomb-proof, nuclear weapon proof. All those benefits that we giving him, all he want to do is take care of the rich and the powerful, the multi-billionaire and the multi-millionaire. Do you know how you got those billions? He got those billions. They got those billions selling people stuff. Selling people stuff that God made. God made the wood and the diamonds and the pearl and the gold and the silver and the bronze. God made all of that stuff, and God gave it to every human being for free. But these prejudiced people that think they better than somebody else, they fence in and put no trespassing, and then they overprice everything to the people. I know that water is free. Water is still free. There's water. I got 3 rivers right here in Greene County. I got the Tombigbee River, I got the Sifty River, and I got the Black Oil Well. All that water out there in that river is free. We got lakes and we got ponds. That water is all free. But the water, I'm not paying for the water itself. I'm paying for the company that put all the piping in and all the plumbing in, that put all the wires up, that filter the water, the filter system. That's what we paying for. We're not actually paying for the water. When I go to Sam, you can get like 40 bottles of water for like $5. But if you go to the store, it's $1 for a bottle of water or $1.50. You're not paying the $1.50 because of the water. You're paying the $1.50 because I have to go out and buy $4,000 and $5,000 freezers that put the water and the drinks in to keep them cold. So I'm going to have a big light bill. So the money is to cover my expenses of what I have to do to make this water convenient and make this soda convenient to you when it's cold, the way you like it, to keep the ice cream cold for it won't melt. So yes, I'm paying for the ice cream that's not expensive, but for the electricity and the gas and the energy, that everything it takes to keep things the way that you want it, we gotta make some money because we got to hire some employees. We got to pay insurance. We got to pay light bill. We got to pay phone bill. So yes, I can go down to the river and dip water out, but I still got to filter it. I still got to clean it. So I don't mind paying property tax to help the kids and build new schools and to build roads and to put up new telephone poles and put in new sewage system. I don't have no problem with that. I know that stuff costs money because you have to hire people. You have to buy material. But nothing like this evil president who comes into office and he put tariffs on us. Mike Johnson said that Jesus came to him personally and gave him the plan to that big, beautiful bill where he cut free lunches for low-income kids. He cut grants for black people that got the grades of brown people but just don't have the resources to do it. He cut that. He cut funding to the Department of Education that supplies the grant and the money for the free lunches and for SNAP and for Medicaid. He cut all of that so he can give a tax break to multi-billionaires and multi-millionaires. He cut their taxes, and then he went and added, on the back end, he went and added a tariff to the poor people. He made the rich people much richer, but he made the poor people much poorer. And then he sit back and laugh and let Kristi Noem spend $220 million that she embezzled for her and her friends. She going out getting $172 million worth of planes that she can ride around in luxury. 4 big screen TVs and a big old queen size bed on the plane. While at the same time, you cutting Medicaid for people that can work 30, 40, 50 years and they are no more able to take care of themselves or their family is not in the position to help them. You cut that so you can give the money to the most wealthiest people on the planet, and then you sit back and laugh. $175 billion that Trump robbed from the American people and from companies in America. In less than a year, since April of last year, $175 billion. And the Supreme Court said it was illegal, and Trump still won't give back the money. Our court just ordered him to give back the money, and Trump still ain't giving him back the money. This man shouldn't be in jail. He should be under the jail. This is so evil. This is just so unbelievable. They said the war in Iran, they estimate that it's going to cost the American people. That's if it go a month and a half. The estimate is going to cost the American people $210 billion. You can't get no even. We broke. We got a $98 trillion deficit, and this man is spending $220 million just for Kristi Noem. Could embezzle it for her and her friends. That Trump used that money to get the people to support him, to help him get reelected. And the church ain't doing nothing. The church ain't doing nothing. I don't see, I look every day, because I don't want to falsely accuse nobody. I look at the news every day, and I try to see what the church is doing. Is the church standing up for right, and standing up for integrity, and standing up for truth? I stand right here today and say no. The church is not standing up for justice. The church is not standing up for righteousness. The church is not standing up for Christ. The church is not standing up for truth, love, and joy. They are not. There is no way that this evil man should have been president. You knew before this man was even elected, because he'd been president already. He was impeached twice for misconduct when he was president for the first time. He was impeached twice for it. He been convicted of sexual assault, and as soon as he lost the sexual assault case, he left straight out of the courtroom and went out there and defamed Eugene Carroll once again, and he got convicted again. He owe her with interest over $100 million right now, and he ain't paid her yet. He's still fighting, trying to get it thrown out. He been convicted of 34 felonies. His company has been convicted of fraud. He tried to overthrow the government on January 6th. And 77 million people love it. America, we got to come to grips with half of this country don't believe in the Constitution. That half of this country don't believe in laws. And more than half of this country don't believe in God and don't believe that Christ is his son. We got to come to the reality that we're not just fighting flesh and blood. We're up against powers and principalities and high places. And Donald Trump and his minions, they're not godly. You don't drop bomb on school and kill innocent kids. You don't go into other countries and take away someone's freedom, but you don't want nobody to take away your own. You don't try to take away other people's constitutional right, the constitutional right that you want to enjoy. You can't be godly and do that. You a liar. You lie. You are a wolf that pretend to be a sheep. And the only thing that will expose a wolf pretending to be a sheep is that you must be truthful. You must shine light into darkness, that people may see that it's darkness. And they may see that it's darkness, and they may come running, asking, what must I do to be saved? If you say you know God, 1 John, if you say you know God and keep not God's commandment, I'm calling you a liar. God is calling you a liar. And Christ is calling you a liar. And Paul is calling you a liar. And the truth ain't even in you. The Bible said that which is crooked, it can never be made straight. You know it in your heart and your mind. If you still supporting Trump, that means that you supporting liars. You supporting darkness instead of light. And the Bible said when you come up against darkness and you light, that the Bible said you need to turn away. You can't be good and bad at the same time. A fountain cannot bring forth fresh water and salt water at the same time. God said either you got to make the tree good and its fruit good, or you got to make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt. You can't serve God and money and man. I'm just being truthful. I'm not being hateful. There's no malice in my heart. I must do what thus said the Lord God. Thank you.